Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beating the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Today, we are going to be previewing the two big games coming up this weekend. We have Everton facing Arsenal on Saturday. And on Sunday, we have Spurs going up against Man City. Joining me today, we have Sugar Belly.
Greetings, viewers and subscribers.
We also have returning to the studios, Carey.
Subscribers, listeners, pleasure to be back.
Yes, we were on a break. The EPL was on a break for the last couple of weeks, playing out some League Cup and some FA Cup fixtures, but the EPL is back this weekend in earnest. Games are coming quick and fast, and results are shaping the league as we progress. We're going to start by previewing the Everton versus Arsenal. Everton versus Arsenal. League leaders versus basement dwellers. Arsenal leading the league in first. Everton bringing up the basement in 19th position. Recently sacked their coach, Lampard. We have a new coach coming in, Sean Dyche, formerly of Burnley. Carey, what can we expect from these two teams going into this fixture?
Well, firstly, let's thank God Frank Lampard is out of the league. That's he was probably one of the worst managers I've seen in the previous years. Let's just be honest about it.
Yes,
He came in.
Lampard was in charge for 38 games in the EPL for Everton, and during those 38 games, he had a win percentage of roughly 23.68, one of the poorest win percentage by any Everton manager. So
listen, man. So let's just be grateful he's out of the league. We hope we don't see him anytime soon. But coming to this fixture, well, no, we know that Arsenal flying form last 5 games. They have won 4, draw that one against Newcastle versus Everton. Last 5 results, as we know, 4 losses, 1 draw. You know, that really put the nail in the coffin for Lampard tenure there. But one thing, what the EPL has shown us in previous seasons, whenever a new manager comes to a team in the EPL, that first 5 games, normal, you know, the vibe is back, a new voice is there, and they respond really well. So this might be a tricky fixture, especially being played at Everton home. You know, it can be a tricky fixture because, you know, everybody on the team now is fighting to impress this new manager who want game time, things like that. And the relegation battle, as we know, the EPL has always been something interesting, especially when they're fighting for a point. So I think midway through the season now, the thing about it, Everton, they can actually escape the relegation zone. You know, it's a tight battle there. So honestly, it might be tricky, but I think Arsenal will go into this fixture believing that they can win, coming off that recent victory against Manchester United, the last Premier League match. So confidence is high for Arsenal as usual. Might be a tricky fixture, so should be an interesting one.
yes, you do raise a very good point there. It's what I would classify as the manager's bunks. Usually there's a upsurge
That is it.
in terms of results when a new manager takes over. So going into this one, Arsenal definitely need to be careful of that potential resurgence that Everton may have as a result of a new manager taking place. And funny enough, Arsenal have failed to win at Goodison Park since the 2016-2017 season. So results haven't been coming too well for Arsenal playing away from home at Goodison. So this could potentially be a tricky fixture. What say you, Sugar Belly?
Yes, definitely. Everton now with a new manager, Sean Dyche, as you said, formerly of Burnley. He's used to the battling, the relegation battle, definitely. So I think his Everton side will be very pumped up for this fixture. It's tricky because Arsenal now at the top of the table, flying full of confidence. I still expect them to come out and put on their usual showing, which we have seen in the last few weeks. So I expect it to be a very tricky encounter, definitely.
Indeed, a tricky encounter, Sugar Belly is saying. What I find fascinating about this fixture, this should give us a good measure of how competitive the EPL actually is when compared to other leagues, because we have league leaders Arsenal versus 19th place Everton. They are at opposite ends of the table. So this is a good measure as to how competitive the EPL is. Could the team in 19 possibly upset the league leaders? Is that possible?
Definitely, we've seen it in the Premier League countless amount of times where any team on their day can turn up and put in that effort that is needed to overcome the situation that they're in, especially a battling team, a team fighting for their lives, such as Everton.
Indeed.
You
All
know,
right, Kerry,
right,
let's jump ahead. Let's talk team selection, team tactics, key players to look forward to for this one.
well, to be honest, I think we're at the point now where we don't need to really ask about Arsenal team selection in there at
Mm.
all.
So you're
It's
saying no changes even with
no
the new transfers
changes.
coming in?
What did you no, those transfers were just for depth, to be honest.
Mm.
So expect no changes. Some good news is, although it's not right now, but Jesus is back in training. I know the Arsenal fans really looking forward to Jesus actually returning to the pitch. But we expect the same lineup in Ketia up top, Saka, Martinelli, Partey, Xhaka, Saliba. It might be just interesting to see whether Tamiyasu or Tierney or Zinchenko starts on the left. Might just be, kind of interesting to see that one. But we know the other back line. Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, staples in the team. So
And
that's
Blanco.
what we expect out there. Benny Blanco, that's what we expect. Hopefully he recovered from that Man U performance and back on his A game. But the team is locked in. I think where it's going to be really interesting because despite Everton's lack of winning and getting some results, Onana has been somewhat of a good player for them in the middle there. I think that battle between him and Jack and Partey should be an interesting one, especially with Guy kind of being that physical, robust Spurs in the midfield. So the midfield battle, I think, is where that match will be won. I think over the past couple of weeks, we have seen the class that Partey and Xhaka will demonstrate. So if those two players, being Onana and Guy, don't come on their A game, then that's where the match will be lost for Everton, to be honest. And I expect, although it can be a tricky fixture, there are 35 points that separate these two teams at the midway break. So to be honest, I do think Arsenal will dominate procedures, but they'll have to be somewhat on their A game.
Mm, I see. Well, in my opinion, Sean Dyche is a man who is known for his simplification of his tactics and pretty much just leading his team to getting the basics right. In fact, I am looking forward to seeing how he will deploy his squad of Everton players. He's usually known for going to his traditional 4-4-2 formation. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing what he has up his sleeve in terms of team selection, team tactics, and pretty much clamping down on this free scoring Arsenal attack. Sugar Belly, I'll bring you in at this point. What can we expect in terms of Everton team tactics, team lineup, any key players you're looking forward to seeing?
Well, Everton currently and the situation that they're in, I see Sean Dyche opting to go for somewhat of a back to the wall performance where he comes out, sits back in a low block, you know, 4-4-2 behind the ball, trying to get Arsenal, nick them on the counter with a long ball, So I expect Damari Gray to be very influential. I think he has been Everton's best attacker throughout this season. So he definitely will be a threat to that Arsenal backline. And as well with the long balls, we know Calvert-Lewin is an aerial threat. I'm not so sure of his fitness going into this fixture, however, but I expect that's what I expect from Everton, definitely.
Indeed, you do touch on some very interesting points there in terms of that breaking on the speed from a Demari Gray. And as you said, Calvert-Lewin, a long-term injury for Everton that could have possibly been one of the key reasons for their lack of goal-scoring threat under one Frank Lampard. But the Frank era is behind us. Sean Dyche comes with different tactics, a different mentality, a different approach to the game. I do believe, as you mentioned, he will somewhat invite Arsenal on and try to play on the counter. Two banks of four and breaking quickly and trying to maximize set plays as well. So it should be an interesting battle. Arsenal dominating possession, trying to pick Everton apart. Everton trying to defend, with the likes of Tarkowski, Cody in the centre back position there. Those are stalwarts. Dyche is known for, those tall, tough tackling, no nonsense defenders. So Everton do have some interesting players that could potentially thwart the Arsenal attack. It will be interesting to see how this one plays out. But pivoting a bit in terms of the game itself, Carey, how do you see the game playing out? And talk to us about a team prediction. What say you in terms of the score?
All right. Well, I see the team going at it, especially in the middle of the park. I think that's where the vital battles will be. As I said before, that's where the match will be won. So I expect it to be a bit tense, fierce in the midfield. I think with the inviting pressure, the thing is, I expect Everton to invite some pressure from Arsenal and catch them at the break, as discussed. But I think at this point in time, you can't really let Arsenal get too comfortable attacking because from once they get a goal or two, then the game is a wrap. So I do see this game playing out to be a first one, a 2-0, but not a dominating 2-0.
Sugar Belly, what say you?
Well, going into this game, I think Arteta, he hasn't made any changes from season, but with his new additions, I think going into this match, he definitely should make a change. Martinelli is one player that sticks out to me. He's definitely a very explosive player, but over the last few weeks, he has been, in my opinion, he has dropped off a bit. So I think Arteta might want to utilize Trossard there going into this game. I think he also has a good scoring record against Everton. So, well, and in terms of the gameplay now, I expect Arsenal to fully dominate proceedings. Um, in terms of my score prediction, I expect them to run out 3-1 winners.
3-1 winners.
Yes.
Interestingly, all statistics, all the analytics point to a easy Arsenal win. However, for me, my football instincts is telling me Everton will get something from this game. Whether it is the manager's bounce, whether it is a bit of complacency creeping into Arsenal, whether it's a bit of fatigue creeping into the team. For example, the last game Arsenal played against Man City, I saw where Ake pocketed Saka. Saka was nowhere to be found. Ake went home with Saka in his pocket. So for some odd reason, I am going to go against the grain for this one. I do believe Everton will get something from this game. Whether it's a surprise win or a draw, I'm backing Everton to get something, to nick something from this one. That's just my view on that. But let's pivot a bit. This game is on Saturday. We do have another big one taking place on Sunday. Spurs versus Man City. Carey, talk to us about this game. What are your views on these two teams coming into this fixture?
All right. Well, this one is a bit tricky because if we're going to be honest, both teams especially in recent weeks, over the past 5 to 6 weeks, have been rather inconsistent in results. Man City hasn't looked like the Man City that we have known over previous years, especially in defense. You as realize we don't have to guess now if Cancelo is going to start this weekend because he's off to Bayern, just got
Mm.
an assist other day, first match, 17 minutes, so seems like he's enjoying life there already. But one thing with the transfer, Spurs made a really good transfer that went under the market. It wasn't really talked about much. They signed fullback Porro, and that has not been discussed much because a lot of money moves were
Mm.
made in the transfer market. So
Indeed,
he was outshined.
Chelsea sticks out like a sore thumb when it comes to this transfer window.
I mean, the billionaire
Nottingham
spending
Forest as
billions.
well. I think Nottingham Forest is now up to 30 transfers for the season.
That should be
Unprecedented
some
stuff.
type of record. Right. So that's what happened. Everything that was happening, Spurs made a really good signing, the fullback Porro.
Okay.
I think he's an excellent signing. He will add something to Spurs. He actually, in my opinion, he does move the needle for Spurs. He's a solid defender and he can create assists as well. So that went really, really under the radar. So kudos to Spurs on that. But just a few weeks ago, this match was actually played.
Oh yeah.
And we saw what happened. Spurs went up 2-0 into halftime.
Mhm.
Everyone thought, well, that was it, game wrap. But here comes Pep, and here comes Haaland, here comes De Bruyne, and here comes everyone full force. Game ended 4-2. Spurs was totally lost. So it's going to be extremely interesting for this one. Do Spurs go out to the same tactic they used in the last match? They go out City in the first half. Would City be that complacent against Spurs? Should be an interesting matchup there. We expect the same up top for Kane, Son, Kulu. And then for City, I think Pep realized that he needs to start Maris and he also needs to start Grealish, especially with Foden fighting against injury and time like this. I'm not sure if he'll be ready for Saturday or Sunday rather. So I think Pep realized that his front four, Mahrez, Grealish, De Bruyne, and of course the main man up top, Haaland. That's how I think they're really set up top. So it should be an interesting clash of strikers and midfielders this weekend.
Yes, indeed. This definitely shaping up to be a tough fixture to call, with both teams facing each other so recently. It will be a battle of the managers, Pep versus Conte. Two top managers in the world. I'm sure they have studied each other and have tweaked their tactics somewhat. This time around, however, Spurs is at home. The last fixture, City was at home, and as you mentioned, it was an uncharacteristic Spurs performance, in my opinion. Spurs is usually regarded as a second half team. So it
Right.
was quite shocking to see them leading Man City 2-0 at halftime. But I don't know what Pep said in that halftime team talk, but Man City came back blazing, scoring 4 goals unanswered in the second half. Sugar Belly, what's your take on this one?
Well, definitely. The last game we saw what happened. As Carey said, Tottenham took the leading at halftime 2-0. Ended up, I don't know what they did in the second half. But City scored 4 goals there. So it's very interesting. One thing we forgot to mention also is that Antonio Conte, the manager of Tottenham, won't be on the sidelines. So
Mhm.
it's very that brings a different dynamic to this fixture as well because he recently he had some abdominal surgery, so he will be out. I think that will be a big miss for Spurs because he's a very aggressive authoritarian type of manager who can galvanize his team on the sideline. Spurs, especially, who is a team who loves to slack off, will definitely miss his presence there on the sideline. So it will be very interesting to see how they um, play against this Pep Guardiola Man City team who even after a mixed run of results, they put on a very fine performance last week against Arsenal as well in the FA Cup. So I'm expecting City to fully dominate them once again.
You definitely raise a very good point there, I must say, Sugar Belly, in terms of the presence or lack thereof of Conte on the
Yes, man.
Spurs bench. That definitely brings a new dimension to this one. For one, will the players respond like they would if Conte was on the bench, or will it be a different approach,
Yes,
especially
yes,
playing in front
yes,
of home fans?
definitely because I think the Tottenham fans are a bit disgruntled about how they come out and sit back most weeks, only try to chase the game in the second half. So it's also very intriguing to see whether or not this whoever is filling in for Antonio Conte now will come and maybe provide some more attacking oomph to this
Dynamism,
team. Yes,
indeed,
definitely.
indeed.
And their new signing from Villarreal, he also scored on his debut in the FA Cup, so he seems to have found his feet already. So definitely it's one to watch out for.
Yes, indeed, this is it building up to be somewhat of a ding-dong battle, it may be. Or will City run away with it again? Kerry, talk to us about team tactics, team selection, team formation. What say you? Can we expect the same from a Man City? Or do you see Pep tweaking his tactics someone? Will Spurs be Spursy? Will they come with the same tried and tested approach to the game where, as Sugar Billy mentioned, they tend to sit back, soak up a bit of pressure, somewhat of a slow start come first half, and then chase the game come second half when they may very well find themselves down. What say you? Will the previous result have any impact on the approaches that each manager take?
Right. I honestly think it will, especially being played at the Tottenham Stadium. And I think Richarlison is close to being fit, so who knows? Richarlison might just be on the bench on Sunday. We know he has the potential to be a game changer, definitely. But I think being at home, no content on the sidelines, I think Spurs will go for it, especially in that first half. I
Mm.
think they'll be amped up by the crowd, definitely. You know, the Spurs fans don't like the City fans, especially with what happened a couple of weeks ago. So I know the definitely pressure will be there from the home crowd to say, hey, go for this. I think they will because the Spurs players, they seem a bit disgruntled as well, always having to sit back. And we know they have the likes of Kane, who is always hungry for goals. Son may just be a bit off form, but you know, the thing is, form is temporary. He might just find it back on Sunday. Who
Mm.
knows?
Class
You know,
is permanent.
Richarlison might be on the bench. Class is permanent. And we have to admit, over the past few years, Son has shown some class. So let's always remember that. And over the past few years, let's not forget that Spurs have the, the upper hand on Man City. For the
Indeed.
past several matches and seasons, Spurs have the upper hand on City. If
Yes,
City was supposed
they
to lose
did
a
the double
match,
over City last season.
exactly. So let's not count them out, especially being home. Man City, Man City will just always be Man City. Pep will always be Pep. Don't see much of Pep tactics changing. I think right now Pep realized he has to chase Arteta. So he's putting on his best level. As I said, I think Grealish, Mahrez, KDB, Haaland will start. The Rodri is going to be solid there. Just Kyle Walker, we're not sure what will happen with Kyle Walker. But apart from that, it's a set team. Man City will definitely be going for it because, and I think the approach will definitely, the impact on the Arsenal match will definitely have an impact on the approach from Man City for that game.
Mm.
Because it might be a case where Arsenal drop some points against Everton. They might play it a little safe. You understand? But if they realize that listen, Arsenal has a game in hand, they're coming in 8 points ahead of us, all guns blazing.
You do raise
Forget the defending, all guns blazing.
a
Because at
very
that point in time, Right. So I think that Arsenal Everton match is very important to see how Pep actually goes about the game.
That's a critical point there you raise. In as you mentioned, well, with Arsenal playing on Saturday and this game scheduled for Sunday, I mean, Man City should be aware of that result in the Arsenal fixture. So as you say, it may very well
Definitely.
have an impact on the approach that Pep may take for this game. But Pep being Pep, to most games he has something up his sleeve. You know,
That is it.
it's never what you expect that Pep gives you. Rico Lewis may very well play a inverted role where he becomes a third or even a fourth midfield in order for Man City
Yeah, man,
to
definitely.
control the game. The last three meetings between these two teams, Man City have pretty much dominated possession. But as mentioned, last season, it was Spurs who won both games. They did the double over Man City, despite Man City totally dominating possession. So Man City has to be aware of Spurs playing on the counter attack. So it's going to be a very interesting tactical battle. Spurs will basically be looking to defend to counter the Man City attacks from their domination of possession and limiting their goal scoring opportunities, the likes of a Haaland, De Bruyne, ready to pounce, ready to score, while Man City, on the other hand, will be looking to thwart the Spurs counter. So it's gonna be a very crucial battle. It's gonna be a tactical affair, it seems. Sugar Belly, what say you?
Yes, two big clubs playing definitely you would want to assume that tactics will be the main thing on show for the day. So definitely it's very interesting to see how Tottenham lines up with their new additions, especially defensively. We know they have been struggling at right back for the longest while. I think ever since they sold Trippier. So um Pedro Porro incoming from Sporting, top player, Champions League quality. So let's see how he slots in there, going up against who Grealish. So it's very interesting there. So in the midfield now we have Rodri, KDB. The quality is there from City. So Pep on any given day, Pep and his team can blow Spurs out of the water completely, as we said. But in hindsight, we have seen, as you say, Spurs quote unquote have Man City tickets so over the few years. So they always put together strong performances. We even see that in the last game, they took the lead, albeit they succumbed and conceded 4 goals. But Harry Kane as well, him and Haaland claims he can chase down Haaland for the golden boot. So he didn't grab any goal in the last game. Haaland scored one. So I assume he'll be very hungry to grab one tomorrow or even a second. So I expect Tottenham there to try together to put something together to counter what Man City is coming with. Definitely.
Ah, indeed. This is turning into one of a tactical battle between the coaches. The players are quality. Both teams have quality players. It's a matter of how well each team take their chances in front of goal. It may boil down to it may be the two big strikers on show. It could be a Haaland versus a Kane show.
Yes, man.
It's a very intriguing fixture, especially with the recent history behind these two teams. But Carey, how do you see this one playing out? And what is your score prediction for this one?
Well, this is my game playing out based on the result I think we will get from Saturday. I think Arsenal will win on Saturday, 8 points ahead. Pep will definitely go for it. They're going for the juggernaut, to be honest. And let's be honest, these two teams for the past couple of weeks, their defense has been very leaky around there, letting in goals left, right, and center. And I don't mean any quality goals. You know, some silly mistakes, some cheap goals been going in, and from both Man City and Spurs. And I think if Spurs go ahead and score first, we might be looking at a 3-off thriller. But I think the case is City will definitely chase it. Spurs will get a goal. So I think I'm predicting a 2-2 from both teams. Two
2-2.
goals apiece. The possession will naturally go in Pep's favor. Naturally go in Pep's favor. But chances are what really count. How much you stick in the back of the net, to be honest. So they might even have 70% possession, 30 shots, 2 goals. Spurs, 30%, 2 shot, 2 goals. It might just turn out to that. And that's what I'm thinking will happen. So I'm definitely going 2-2.
2-2. You've been on the ball with your predictions of late. So I'm not gonna say I doubt your predictions. I'll give you mine shortly, but let me first hear from Sugar Belly.
All right, yes, going into this game now, I think regardless of the result on Saturday, Pep, we know Pep is a very demanding manager, so I expect his Man City team to go out there to try to fulfill exactly what he wants from them. So um, I expect this game to very end to end. I hope the referee can control this game good because we've seen in the past where tempers definitely flare, especially at this Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I think when they play at home, they seem to the home fans, demanding from the referee. So the referee will have a very huge role to play in this one. Hopefully, we don't see any red cards to upset the balance of this one. So I expect City, however, to dominate. I expect them to win 3 goals to 2.
Close game.
Yes.
Close game. But a City win. For me
Yes.
personally,
At all costs.
I see nothing less than a City win for this one. I don't see Spurs having the quality to match Man City. Even if Spurs go ahead, Man City will come back. I just think Man City has too much quality in
And
the
two,
attacking departments for Spurs to manage. So I'm looking at a dominant Man City win. I'm looking at 3-1 Man City. Haaland getting on the score sheet. KDB assists. Spurs nicking one on the counter. So I expect Man City to totally dominate position. Spurs sitting back and playing on the counter to catch Man City out. So I do believe they will get a goal, but I see nothing less than a Man City win for this one.
definitely. I believe with Man City facing Arsenal, I think 2 times close by in the coming weeks. I think Guardiola will definitely not want to drop the ball in any way, shape, or form going into those 2 fixtures with a 5 point gap. So I expect City to come guns blazing, definitely.
Guns blazing. Final thoughts from you, Kerry, before we wrap up.
Well, I expect end of this weekend, we're coming into next weekend. Arsenal will obviously be on top of the tables, possibly by 7 points. My prediction.
All right. Well, I'd just like to thank Sugar Belly and I'd like to thank Kerry for sharing their perspective, their thoughts, their opinions with us on this podcast. Viewers and subscriber, thank you again for joining us. Please remember to share, like, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Rafa signing off.